Allen Sports.
Hi, this is tennis player Mariana Dragic, and you're watching Von Allen Sports, real and honest sports analysis. Subscribe now and join the empire. Von Allen Sports, let's go!
Von Allen Sports.
Hi, this is tennis player Mariana Dragic, and you're watching Von Allen Sports, real and honest sports analysis. Subscribe now and join the empire. Von Allen Sports, let's go!
see as the night goes on, and we'll go over these things. But the first thing I want to talk about, get right off the bat, is I want to explain to you guys why I posted something. I posted about a week ago, and it's the only post I've put up on YouTube in the community section. And it's one statement and one photo. The statement was about how Tom Brady is the only player, the only Hall of Fame quarterback in history. Now, maybe there's not player, because there may be other players that this is the situation. But as far as I know, Hall of Fame quarterback, high-level elite quarterback, that never had a prime. And what I mean by that is when we say that quarterback's prime, we're referring to a time where he's at his best, as opposed to his ending where he wasn't the same. And normally when we talk about prime, we don't refer to their beginning, because the beginning is going to the prime. But we're normally referring to, let's say, if you say, oh, I'll take Jordan against LeBron, we'll say, I'll take Jordan in his prime over LeBron in his prime. We're not talking about Jordan in year one. We're not talking about LeBron in year one. We're talking about Jordan at the peak of his powers. Let's just smack dab in the middle. Let's just say 1996 Jordan, okay? We're not talking about Washington Wizards Jordan. And we're not talking about LeBron now. We're talking about LeBron, Miami Heat LeBron, I guess, whatever you want to call it. But that's what we mean. There was no decline. Or if you want to mention Kobe's last year or two, he wasn't the same Kobe. So that's not who you would put up against. You'd say, I want Kobe in his prime. You want 2008 Kobe, that era. In my opinion, I think that's the best Kobe, is that time frame. So 08 to 10, I think, something like that. But the point is that most great players have primes. And Tom Brady never had that. So Tom Brady started right off the bat. His first year he started, he won a Super Bowl. Boom. Super Bowl MVP right off the bat. That's amazing. Very few people can say that they've done that. Kurt Warner can say that, and a few others. And other guys have had actually great starting seasons. Like Patrick Mahomes had an amazing start to his career. So Tom Brady started out with a bang. And I don't want to hear about, Tom was just a game manager and all this stuff. Tom won a freaking Super Bowl as MVP and then continued down that path. It wasn't an accident. It's not like Trent Dilfer winning the Super Bowl with the Ravens or something. It's not an accident. If it was the only thing, then I would say, okay, then you got a point. But that clearly he was the relevant factor, and over time has shown that was the case. And he continued to do that. So in 2003, Super Bowl MVP again. 2004, in my opinion, should have been Super Bowl MVP then. But won again. 2007, regular season MVP. And we know this, it keeps going on and keeps going on. It just keeps getting better and better and better. He just retired as what I think is regular season MVP. So where's the prime here? There is no prime. But to get to the point, with that, I posted a photograph of Tom wearing a 49ers jersey. And I did that in response to the announcement that he was retiring. I didn't believe this statement. I thought it was, I read it over and over again. Me and Milane had gone over the statement, showed it to her, read it, and I'm just going to make this completely clear. This is not denial or a fan denial or anything like that. I am not that type of person, okay? There is great new talent coming up in the quarterback ranks. The future of the NFL looks pretty good from a quarterback perspective, which is something that just a few years ago I was terrified of. Just 2 years ago, if you asked me, what's the future of the NFL when it comes to the quarterbacks, because that matters, I would have been a little concerned. Now I'm less concerned. There's just so much. You've Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and now Joe Burrow, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite quarterbacks. Justin Herbert. The list goes on. You've got so many good guys, so many good quarterbacks, and maybe even Trevor Lawrence is an up and comer. We'll see now that he's got a competent head coach. So that I'm not worried about that. I'm not afraid of Tom Brady retiring. There's always going to be something to talk about with Brady. There's always going to be the debates and the normal stuff that we do in the offseason. It just will continue. So that's not what this is about. What I read in his retirement speech was a goodbye to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, and I'm just going to straight up say it. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like a goodbye to the Bucs. As Tom Brady fans over the last 2 years, we have been through a complete emotional roller coaster as far as Bruce Arians and the way the Bucs do things and the way that they approach certain things, and we didn't like it. And we would constantly say on here, most of us would say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was not the Tom Brady way, and he had to force them into being Tom Brady. But sometimes the Bucs would be too influential on Tom, and we didn't like that. And we could see it in play calling and attitude and stupid penalties and undisciplined play, and all that caught up with them recently. Although some crazy-ass calls that still can't be explained by the refs in the Rams game should be noted, but still, there was a lot of undisciplined play all year. And we saw that Tom was probably a little unhappy as time went on. Something wasn't right there. If we as fans who followed Tom Brady his whole career with the Patriots, and we know the Patriot way, quote-unquote Patriot way, if we follow that and we know that and we're seeing the problems, with Bruce Arians. We saw it from the very beginning, and that was always our complaint. If we can see it, Tom sees it, because we know what Tom is used to. We know what he expects of others, and that wasn't happening. And when it wasn't happening, he just found these guys as idiots. He found, you could tell he found Bruce Arians as honestly dumb and clueless. He's not going to say that Tom is never going to say that. Tom is too classy for that. He's never going to throw anybody under the bus. All right. I probably, to be honest with you, I probably would have gone the Aaron Rodgers route this last season. I probably would have been like, Bruce Arians is a freaking idiot. Maybe not so bluntly, but probably I would have lost it by then. But Tom still wouldn't. I mean, the guy who stole Tom Brady's jerseys from him in Mexico, he requested that the guy doesn't get fired from his job as a journalist, and he was in at the Super Bowl as a journalist, stole 2 different jerseys from him, Super Bowl 49, Super Bowl 51, and Tom still didn't want him fired. When the radio station in Boston said that Tom Brady's daughter was a brat or something, I think he used a word that was even worse than that. He asked that guy not be fired. I mean, this is the kind of guy Tom is. And Tom was giving these guys interviews every week, his whole career, and they said that about his daughter. Honestly, I would have been like, you know what? you guys could imagine what I would have said. So Tom is that kind of guy. He's never going to throw someone under the bus. He's always going to deflect credit away from himself. He does that. He's never going to say, I'm the GOAT. He's never going to say that guy, that coach is not good, or that player's not good, or that player's not trying. He will never say those things. So if you're looking for something like that, you're never going to get it. All right? But in his statement, everyone was wondering, why didn't he say goodbye to the Pats? Well, there's several reasons for that. The first thing is that when he left the Pats, he did that. This retirement speech, or not retirement speech, but this Instagram post, by the way, who does that, right? I mean, where's the official, retirement video like we've seen of Elway and Marino and Favre and all these other guys? Where was that, right? That was the weird thing. But no, he decided to first put it out there on Instagram. The message did not contain Michigan either. It did not contain his high school coaches. Usually when you retire and you retire for good, you say these things. But no, it was very Tampa Bay Buccaneers centric. And the only other thing he mentioned was his trainer, Alex Guerrero. Why would he mention Alex? Because Alex picked up and moved from the Massachusetts area and moved to Florida just for Tom. So he's thanking him for going down and following him there. But the goodbye was definitely targeted towards Tampa Bay. With that and with what I read and how I know that Tom does not come to decisions quickly, especially something like that, I didn't believe it. I just don't believe it. And I don't think that he is done. It didn't make any sense. And it seemed like he went from 2 days before telling the Bucs that he was far away from a decision, not even close. Okay, his words, not even close, to 2 days later just abruptly saying it's over. Something happened there. I think he saw an opportunity to make an announcement to distance himself from the Tampa Bay Bucs. Right now, if he quote unquote retires, he avoids a lot of bullshit questions for the next few months. He also allows Tampa Bay to move on. Okay, and I don't care about his contract situation with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is not going to hold Tom to anything. It's not going to matter. So Tampa Bay goes and they move on. They drafted Kyle Trask, if you guys remember. So whether or not they believe in Kyle or whether they go with, well, they're not going to go with Blaine Gabbert, surely, right? I mean, you never know. Maybe they welcome Jameis Winston back. Who knows? But I don't really give a crap. I don't care what happens to the Buccaneers. I don't. I just don't care. It's irrelevant to me. They were irrelevant before Tom got there, and they're going to be irrelevant now. But he needed to let them move on, and I don't think he wants to be a Buc. Here's what Tom Brady wants. In my opinion, Tom Brady wants to be a 49er. Okay? That's why I posted that picture. I posted that picture of him as a 49er because that is what I think is going to happen. I think he wants to be a 49er. He sees his opportunity to end his career on the team that he worshiped his entire life. To be the quarterback of a team that was quarterbacked by Joe Montana and Steve Young, his two biggest heroes. He's not going to miss out on this. Now, last week I posted that. Then a few days later, Jimmy Garoppolo, it was probably a day after the 49ers loss to the Rams. Jimmy Garoppolo said goodbye to the 49ers. And nothing official had been released, but Jimmy knew his days are numbered. So he'll be going somewhere else. Because Jimmy is his fifth, he's got the last year on his contract is this next season, but 49ers have an out, and they're going to get out of it. And there's no dead cap hit. I think it's like $2 million or something. But if they had gotten rid of him the last few years, the dead cap would have been $25-30 million, which is why it was difficult for Tom to go to San Francisco without them trading away Jimmy, and nobody was going to take on Jimmy's $25-30 million cap hit with the way he had been playing the last few years. So now Jimmy announces and says goodbye to the 49ers fan base and everything. There's the opening. And then all of a sudden, Tom, on the very next podcast, says, never say never. He says, nothing's, I'm retired for right now, but I don't know how I'm going to feel in 6 months. Oh, how convenient. Okay, so what happens in 6 months? So, yeah, that is what I think is going to transpire. We're going to be watching Tom Brady as a San Francisco 49er, and, either I'm wrong or I'm right. It doesn't, make a difference. I'm just telling you that that's how I feel. And I felt this way sort of, towards the last half of the season. And Rafael Hagoy, I don't know if Rafael's on tonight, but I had mentioned this to him a few times that this was a possibility. And that was even before I suspected that Tom, I started really seriously suspecting that there were problems with Tom and the Bucs, or if he had a problem with the Bucs. The very morning that Tom, we got the announcement on Twitter that he was retiring, Milena woke me up to tell me that. and she filmed me. You filmed me, right? On yeah, you have it. Okay, so she filmed me, and she goes, "What do you think?" And I said, my only response was, "He's going to be a 49er in a few months." And I went back to sleep. That was it. That was it. That's all I said. I didn't believe it. I didn't react to it. I didn't care. Oh, okay, Tom's retiring. Yeah, right. Okay, bullcrap. No way. So what? Yeah, what's Tom going to do for the next month or two? He's going to enjoy. He's going to enjoy making clothes, or for his Brady brand or whatever, and he'll enjoy, maybe taking his kids to school and doing all that stuff. He's going to get bored very quickly. Okay, that is not who Tom is. He's not built that way. He's not like everyone else, and he, for the most part, compartmentalized all that because he loved football so much. And there were times where you could tell he used football as an escape. Now, this is not speculation. This is Gisele. Giselle's own words has said that Tom would use football to kind of be able to not have to do those things because he found them dull. And, I'm not talking about he found his kids dull. I'm talking about the daily repetition of doing nothing, like just random things, because Tom has one love and that's it. It's football. And that's what he does. Even his dad is noted as saying he can't live without it. And he worries what Tom would do after football because he doesn't know of anything that Tom loves like football. So that's it. All those things doesn't make any sense. And Tom retires a year short of his goal, 45. Why would you do that? Why would you do that when you're at the top of your game and nobody can touch you now? Like you can't touch the quarterback anymore. You can't sack him. You can't do anything unless it's Von Miller in a divisional game hitting you upside the chin. Well, that flag doesn't get called. But other than that, you don't get touched. Why would you do that? Why? With 1 year short, do you really believe that Gisele's going to stop Tom from being a 49er? That is never going to happen. Okay? His parents are diehard 49ers fans. They had season tickets their whole life. They still live in San Mateo. Do you really think that he is going to miss this opportunity? Jimmy is gone. And I don't care about Trey Lance. Don't even talk to me about that. That doesn't matter. Kyle Shanahan has to win. He has to win something. For him and the GM there, and it's just they have to win now, and they immediately move to Trey Lance. And if that doesn't work out, let's say that it's not clicking, man, that thing can go south very quickly. We have seen how quick coaches can go from being considered good and considered, great and good with the organization. Just boom, it's seemingly overnight. Things just go south. It's like, what the hell happened to this team? They were just playing so good. And now the coach is getting fired, or there's rumor of him getting fired. That happens so quickly. If you've got a chance to get Tom Brady and possibly win a Super Bowl, you're going to take it. So as far as I'm concerned, Trey Lance is not factoring in this at all. At all. None. If it did, the 49ers are insanely stupid because you've got Trey Lance for what could possibly be, the rest of his career. He's so young. I mean, you've got him on contract for years, paying him next to nothing, basically. You could bring in Tom Brady and you get Trey Lance to sit under Tom Brady for 1 year. You're taking that. And you would be dumb not to. Let's not forget that Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years. It was 05, 06, and 07. Didn't get to start until 08. You're telling me that Aaron didn't benefit from that? Let's say that the Packers start Aaron Rodgers and move on from Favre and start Aaron Rodgers in 05. You know what happens, right? Well, Aaron Rodgers, it took years for Mike McCarthy to fix a lot of Aaron Rodgers' mechanics, and a lot of his footwork was garbage. His mechanics were garbage. His just basic throwing, everything was bad. Go watch him in college. It's awful. It's ugly. It's like, what the hell? This is not Aaron. How is this possible? How is this the same guy? Mike McCarthy fixed all that, but that took years. So sometimes that helps. And honestly, the 49ers have not been ranting and raving about Trey Lance's development. Normally they would, especially somebody they gave up 3 draft picks for. So he could probably use that time. And then maybe he will be the guy after that. But it's just, to me, it doesn't factor in. And if the 49ers did do that, I think it'd be a mistake. But that was the point of the post, the Tom Brady wearing the 49ers jersey. And I don't know, some people I guess didn't catch it, or maybe they thought it was a Bucs jersey because it was red, and they just, you don't think about it, you just automatically assume that. But some few people asked, but I didn't want to say anything until I did this show, and I wanted to be able to say it myself. So, but that's what's behind that for those of you who asked me. I've got to contact Ecamm and tell them this thing to highlight the member chat stuff. It doesn't. It only highlights super chats. See it twice. Celebrates 13 months of membership. Thank you, Daniel. 2 things worth noting. The Bucs are likely to be gutted next season. Just look at their unrestricted free agent list. Also, Gronk seems interested in Cincy next year. Absolutely. And speaking of that, see it twice, and that's a good point. They're going to want to get value for Tom. They're going to try. I mean, they would be dumb not to get value for Tom. So let's say, well, we're already talking about the 49ers. So let's say the 49ers. Let's say the 49ers are the ones that want Tom. The Bucs would be stupid not to say, 49ers, okay, we'll give you Tom, but we want something in return. What do they ask for? Who knows? It can't be too much because Tom could just say, well, I'm not coming back and you're getting nothing. So Tom has the leverage here. But the Bucs would be stupid not to make some kind of deal of some sort. And of course, that would be expected. So yeah, that at least would help them a little bit, Daniel, to help out with how the team is being, quote unquote, gutted. And Gronk, I'm glad you mentioned Gronk. So Gronk isn't retiring because he doesn't think Tom is done. Okay. Let's see, for years, Gronk has always said that he would never play for any other quarterback than Tom Brady. And then he was asked, is there any other quarterback he'd like to play for? He said Joe Burrow. All right. Well, there's no secret why he would say that. Joe Burrow has that Tom Brady thing, that it thing that he carries with him. And we thought that was going to be Mac Jones. It looks like it's actually Joe Burrow who has that. And we'll see. We'll see what happens in the Super Bowl because it's a lot to be that. But it looks like Joe got that it thing. And I hope Mac still has that. But we'll see. It's only been 1 year, and it was his rookie year. So I think he did admirably. But Joe Burrow does seem to have that way of carrying himself that Tom has. It's interesting. And so, yeah, exactly. That's why Milena likes him. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's why he.
James Johnson, Consul James Johnson sends a $2 super chat and says, does Jalen want to make another bet? I don't know. Addie. Addie Visorno celebrates 15 months of membership. Tom Brady to Cleveland to bring home a Lombardi. Please, Tom, let us have this. Please, please. Well, it's not crazy. Of the teams that are one elite quarterback away from being, Super Bowl bound, or at least, championship game bound for at the minimum, Cleveland, I would say, is one of them. Cleveland's one. 49ers obviously is another. 49ers is probably the best spot for Tom right now. given that they are the most well-rounded. And people say, "Oh, well, the Bucks had all these players." Kind of, kind of. The Bucks coaching was really lacking. It was very, very subpar, and you could tell against the Rams, Tom was on his own out there. That was all just determination and Tom bringing that team back. And the defense believed that they could do this because they saw Tom do it in Super Bowl 51. But there was no offering from the coach. Bruce Arians had nothing of wisdom to offer, no experience to draw on. And Todd Bowles is focused on the defense. He can't be expected to do everything. And Byron Leftwich is, let's just be honest, is the only reason we talk about Byron Leftwich is because he's Tom Brady's offensive coordinator. And it's the same thing with Josh McDaniels, and it's the same thing with Charlie Weiss. And we say, oh, we know that guy because he worked with Tom Brady, but it's kind of like, I don't know. But Tom was essentially on his own out there. And there's more to it than just having a bunch of players with big names and famous names. There's way more to it than that. I think we know that. The Patriots won 6 Super Bowls with a bunch of no names and middle tier guys that only Patriots fans would know the names of. And they were able to win because it was a cohesive unit. And the Bucks were not playing that way in that sense. And they just were missing a lot of those things. But definitely, Addy, Cleveland is a team that would have that kind of thing around him. The coaching could be a bit better, but it certainly can't be any worse than Bruce Arians. He's got to be one of the worst coaches I've ever seen in my life. So I do wonder if Tom does not want to be in the AFC, though. I wonder if he would feel that would be too close to the Patriots. Like, him being in the AFC and being a direct threat to New England like that would come off as a shot at New England Patriots fans. I think the fans would see that differently than him. See, when he went off to the NFC, it was like, okay, he's in the NFC. He went away. He's not trying to ruin our team. He's not trying to get in our way or show us or get revenge. He went far away as possible. And I think coming to the AFC like that could be problematic as far as his relationship with New England fans. And I by the way, I don't know that. I don't know if I've never heard Tom say that or anything, but that's just a gut feeling there. So. Let's see, Marcus. I've got to tell them to highlight these things. All right. Marcus 415 celebrates 5 months of membership. He says there was talk of internal problems between Tom and the Buccaneers. So I'm not surprised, right? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to get this thing down. Okay. Yeah, that's I'm not surprised. I didn't know that exactly, but is anyone shocked? I mean, that kind of come off like that. That was a vibe. That was a feeling that I got. Yeah, is anyone shocked by that? So. Okay, just 1 second. Elena, can you see this button? Can you button this down? Okay. Good job, Nefertiti. Nefertiti. It's better than it was. So. Yeah. So the excuse me. The Bucks, as far as I'm concerned, unless unless Tom Brady went back to them, which I don't see happening, that I think this entire retirement thing is in part to get away from them and to allow them to move on without him. But I have nothing. I have no use for them at all. So they were. That's exactly how we always maintained it, and that's just how it is. All right. Next, I want to talk about Deflategate. So, I had been working on a documentary about Deflategate, and I've been putting a lot of effort into it as far as contacting experts. And I was able to contact a good friend, a loyal friend of the channel. I'm not going to give out his name because I don't want to give him, problems, and he likes to remain anonymous. But he works at MIT, and he's well, I'm not going to explain what he does, but very smart guy, okay? And I was going to interview him for getting information about these details, but also he put me in contact with a professor who is very famous for debunking Deflategate. And I'm certain if you're a Patriots fan or a Brady fan, you've seen this professor debunk Deflategate. So I had all that going to show that it was fake. All right? Now, news has come out that the NFL hid information that was relevant to the case in order to screw Tom Brady over. Okay? And do you remember the year after so it's 2015, the year after the accusation was made, all year long, the NFL would gauge the footballs, okay? All year long, they'd gauge the footballs every game at halftime. Do you remember all of us were complaining? And of course, Von Allen Sports didn't exist back then, but I remember me and amongst many fans were constantly complaining, where's the data? Where is it? Why aren't the results being posted? This is complete garbage. And this right here was just fraud. All right, absolute fraud. And it was obvious. They would not release that information. Why? Now we know why. Because the information that they gathered was consistent with the football's air pressure during the AFC Championship game against the Colts. So the average temperature and the average movement of the PSI, and no, for certain idiots out there, it's not the weight of the ball, geniuses, okay? It's the air pressure. Honestly, I've seen people think that was the weight of the balls or something. I mean, honestly, seriously. But I guess they skipped physics in high school or something. But maybe they just fell asleep. But the games that were in the cold weather in the second half of the season at halftime were extremely consistent. And every situation where it was rainy, cold and rainy, wet, things like that, below a certain temperature, were consistent with the balls in the AFC Championship game against the Colts. This is not new to us. We knew that this was fraud, okay? It was extremely obvious to us. Now, before we get on to this next part, I just want to point out that you started liking Von Allen Sports for one reason, and I'm pretty sure that this is why you liked Von Allen Sports. You watched the Tom Brady videos, most likely, and you liked how I put them together. Maybe you watched the Bountygate documentary. Maybe you watched the Montana versus Brady, whatever, right? But you liked how I presented the argument and saw past the bullshit. Well, I do that with everything. And no matter what, no matter if it's something that I believe in or something that I'm skeptical about, I always look at all angles in every way. I do this with anytime I look at anything political or anything from a history standpoint. I always try to look at all angles. And with football, I do the same thing. But one thing that pisses me off is that there are more than half of the NFL fan base is probably of the idea that the mainstream media is fake, and they don't believe anything the mainstream media says. They don't believe that anything that the quote unquote establishment says. Fair enough. That's true. I agree with that. Why did you believe the moment that you heard that Tom Brady was a cheater? Why did you suddenly believe Roger Goodell? That's what I'd like an answer to. I would like to know this. You know, I grew up in the South, and so many people from there hate Tom Brady because they think he's a cheater. Why did you so easily follow that? You know, I understand why the other side followed that, because they take everything hook, line, and sinker. Whatever the establishment says, that's okay, that's fine. But why did you do that? Why did you take it like that? That's what I don't understand. Because it confirmed your bias. It confirmed, okay, Tom Brady can't be that good. He just can't be that good. And my team always gets the crap beat out of them by Tom Brady. So how can this be possible? Nobody can do this. Nobody can do what Tom's done. He had to have been cheating. And it confirmed your bias. And so only when it confirmed what you believed in or what you thought and it made you feel better, then you believed it. Are you going to believe the NFL? The NFL. So knowing this now, like I said, we already believe this. We already knew the NFL was crooked, but I'm talking to the people who believe that. Why do you believe that? You believe that Deflategate was real. You believe that Spygate was relevant and wasn't targeted at Bill Belichick and the Patriots to try to stop their dynasty. But anything else, you don't believe. So, New Orleans Saints fans, how about this? When I came out with Bountygate, and Milena, you remember this, when I came out with Bountygate, a bunch of Saints fans were happy about that. They were sharing the Bountygate video and New Orleans Saints forums and stuff. My documentary made its way to the New Orleans Saints website fan base, and those people who run that fan base at that website actually posted it. So there's a good chance that a lot of Saints people affiliated with the Saints saw that. And after everything that I presented and showed how crooked the NFL was, and they agreed with everything I said, they still believe that Tom Brady was a cheater. How is this possible? How? Because it confirmed what they believe, and that is that nobody can do what Tom does. There's got to be a reason. There's got to be something behind it. They just couldn't fathom that that's the case. And that's what pisses me off about this situation now is, where is everyone? Where are they going to be? That's what I want to know. I want to see where they're going to be. Now, let's move on to the next phase of this. The NFL. I'm supposed to cover the NFL. That's my job here. That's what we do. But I cover the players and I cover the teams. But the NFL is an entity. I don't work for the NFL. Okay? I don't have an affiliation to the actual league office itself, the entity. All right? Now, the NFL is broken down into segments. There's the NFL office, the NFL league office, and that is Roger Goodell and all of his moronic underlings, right? That's one power, okay? But then you've got the owners. The owners themselves are independent powers, and they do a lot of what they do on their own. And then when they come together, they give Roger Goodell a mandate to do something, and he generally has to do that. Robert Kraft, everything that I've thought about Robert Kraft and everything that I've said about him over the recent years is absolutely accurate. And like Patrick, Bitcoin Motorist, pointed out on Twitter, and I absolutely agree, that this is no surprise to us. This is no surprise to us. So when I'm talking about these things, I'm saying these to people who didn't believe us when we made all these cases about Deflategate and about the NFL. Where was Robert Kraft? Robert Kraft sold out, okay? He sold out to the other owners knowing that this was fake. He knew it was fake. Are you telling me that when the NFL covered up this information that Robert Kraft did not have access to it? You guys realize that Robert Kraft is one of the most powerful owners in the NFL. You're telling me that he didn't have access to that information, or that some other owner didn't get it to him, or somebody didn't get it to him? He knew, but he agreed to do it anyway because all the owners, that's what they wanted. He was willing to scapegoat Tom. And if you think that this has nothing to do with Tom's feelings towards the Patriots, you're mistaken. Trust me, okay? Everything that Tom and Giselle were put through, they almost got divorced during Deflategate, okay? And you ran his name into the mud. For the rest of his life, for a lot of people, Tom Brady's name is going to be synonymous with cheating. And for a lot of people who don't know better, they're going to think of him as the Lance Armstrong of football. And that is utterly disgusting. Of all the pieces of shit that players that have come through the NFL and done horrible things, Tom Brady's name is the one that gets put in those groups. He can't ever get that back. Even with the NFL come out and flat out just say, we lied, we covered it up, which they'll never do. But even if they did, it won't undo what they did. It won't undo what happened in the past. You know, it's like the old saying, old lawyer saying, it tells you as citizens, it's not don't get caught doing a crime, it's don't get accused of a crime. Okay? Because even the accusation can do the work of truth, even if you're innocent. And that's the problem here. And it can't be undone. And all those channels and all those so-called journalists that promoted the Deflategate thing, where are they? They were reporting false reports, things that didn't exist. Chris Mortensen, that piece of shit from ESPN, lied, straight up lied, and said that he talked to DeQuell Jackson, the guy who intercepted the football in the Colts game, and that he felt that it was underinflated and stuff. DeQuell Jackson has come out and said himself, that is not what happened. I didn't even know about this. He was looking for his football. When he talked to Chris Mortensen, he told Chris Mortensen, I want my football because I intercepted Tom Brady. And that's a keepsake. Where's my football? He didn't know why it was taken. And to this very day, he still swears that he never did those things and doesn't know what they're talking about. Now, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe the player who actually caught the ball and to this day still stands behind that? Who has no reason to help Tom Brady, okay? He was a Colt, and the Colts were constantly being destroyed by Brady, okay? So he has no love for them, no reason to protect them. And he certainly has no reason to continue this a decade later, or not a decade later, but, what is it? It was 2014, so 8 years later. My God, time's gone by fast. That was more like 7 years later, I guess, but something like that. But anyway, why would he still be, thinking of these things and sticking to that? It would have been easy to go with what Chris Mortensen said, but he didn't. We know it's a sham. We've always known. We've always known. Where are those people now? What's going to happen to them? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen to them. How many awards were given out to journalists over the last few years for posting fake things that didn't exist, and they knew it. Okay, so all these journalists were investigating Deflategate. They had no information. They had no answers because there was none to get. There was nothing there to get, and they reported fake news. They reported lies. If you guys remember, ESPN had to apologize, but they did it in the middle of the night when no one was watching. I believe it was the Boston Globe who had to retract their statement as well. Don't hold me to that, but I think it was the Boston Globe. And they retracted it, but nobody remembers that retraction. Nobody cares about that retraction, you know? So the lie, the lie of this always got more attention. Guys, it was so bad. This lie was so big. My mother, who lives in the middle of nowhere and doesn't even follow football, doesn't follow anything sports related at all. I talked to her on the phone. This was back in after it came out. So talked to her on the phone, say, "Okay, Mom, we're coming to Arkansas for the Super Bowl party," and that was the Seahawks Patriots. And she goes, "I heard Tom Brady's a cheater or cheated." What the hell? Yeah, the damage is done. I said, if my mother knows this, that means everyone knows. And that means it's on her normal, regular talk shows that don't ever talk about football. And it means that she's heard of it. This means that it's everywhere like a cancer. And it's done. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. You just can't. And Robert Kraft allowed this to happen. All the way until 2016, he watched Tom Brady get suspended for 4 games and knew, absolutely knew that this was bullcrap and did it anyway. He has no spine. Screw Robert Kraft. He needs to give the team to Jonathan. Robert Kraft is a freaking loser. He's an absolute loser. He's an old man trying to act like he's 19 years old. He looks ridiculous. I've always had a problem with that, and you guys know that I've never been secretive about this. I've always been outspoken about how he acts like an idiot, always at these parties and wearing stupid clothes and gold chains and things, and it's just like, what are you doing, really? But then he gets caught at the massage parlor, and don't think for a second that didn't bother Tom and Giselle, especially Giselle. I could only imagine what her reaction was to that. That hurts them by association, okay? It was also Robert Kraft who refused to hire properly a designated film crew, and that resulted in a second Spygate incident because he's such a cheap bastard. So just remember this. When you think of Robert Kraft or you see Robert Kraft, this is who he is. He sold Tom out. And that's one of the first things I thought of when I saw, this information coming out. Is that's one of the first things that popped in my head was Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft knew. Yes, I was pissed off about it, and yes, I immediately thought of all the people who said we were wrong and said we were just being homers and we couldn't see the truth and all this crap. Yeah, that came to my mind, but I expect that from idiots, all right? I expect idiocy from idiots, and you get that. But Robert Kraft, the reason I thought of him is because Tom thought of him as a father, as a second father, and he sold him out. And he let his character and his reputation get dragged through the mud. And I hope to God one day Tom will sue every single person who falsified information, who reported information knowing that it was illegitimate. I don't think he will. That's not the kind of guy Tom is, and we just talked about that at the beginning of the show. But I wish he would. That would be awesome. But Robert Kraft is a piece of garbage, and it can't be soon. It can't. Please just hand the team over to Jonathan. Jonathan was the one that went against his dad when it came to Deflategate. Jonathan said that it's fake. He said if I was going there, I would say these things, but I can't speak for my dad. He's the one that wore the Roger Goodell clown T-shirt during Super Bowl week. Jonathan was on Tom's side. That's a real owner right there. You're supposed to protect your guy, and you didn't do that. It's ridiculous. And a lot of people want to make the whole Tom versus Belichick. Let's not forget that when Antonio Brown was cut by the Patriots, that was to save Kraft's ass. He had just gotten in trouble for the massage parlor thing, and he couldn't have Antonio Brown with those accusations on his team because he needed to look good for the courts when this thing was going to go to court, right? So he cut Antonio Brown. That united Bill and Tom together and going, what? Why? This is ridiculous. This is stupid. So there have been plenty of times, plenty of things where Robert Kraft has done some shady stuff just to save his own ass. And it's the same thing with Tom. He did that. The owners did that. Do you guys understand that the NFL has never had, in any case, in anything they've done, they've never had to go to the level of discovery. And discovery in court cases is when all the cards are laid out on the table. So when it means that, like in poker, sometimes you don't want to show your hand. So you fold or you bluff and nobody really has to know what cards you're holding. Well, in a court case, if you do discovery, it means that everyone's cards are on the table. And it means that everyone sees and you either win or lose through that. But to win or lose through that, everything is unraveled. Everything is looked at. The NFL always settles before it goes to discovery. They prevented discovery in the Colin Kaepernick case. They prevented discovery in the St. Louis debacle with the Rams leaving St. Louis. They prevented discovery, I believe, in Bounty Gate, and because the players sued, and then they rescinded the players' suspensions to avoid discovery in that case. And they avoided discovery in Deflategate because Robert Kraft gave in. He did not want to push it to the point where that would have to happen. And Tom was like, okay, fine, I'll just take the punishment. Without Robert Kraft defending Tom, there's no way. There's no way. So they always avoid discovery, and we never get a clear picture about them. Okay? It doesn't help that as an organization, they didn't seem too united around Tom. And I hated that. I hated that feeling that only the fans seemed to really be behind them. And some of the players were kind of, supportive, and some were just like, doing the whole Patriot bullshit, which is, we got to let the thing play out and see what happens, blah, blah, blah. That whole lip service crap, right? Well, that wasn't the time for that. I didn't appreciate Bill Belichick's reaction to it when he kind of said, well, you'd have to talk to the quarterback about that. And I get it. He's wanting to keep any kind of scandal away from him as far as possible because of Spygate, and he couldn't have another scandal where he was accused of something. I don't care. You don't do that. No, you say, I've known Tom Brady this whole time, and that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That's what you say. If you're Belichick, that's what you say. But at the end of the day, it's not within his power to help Tom at the league level. It's Robert Kraft's job. That's what Robert Kraft does. And Robert Kraft is the one, at the end of the day, who screwed Tom over. Okay. So I've been talking for what, an hour straight now? Wait, Kraft. No, 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 no. It's not. No, you don't have to stop eating Kraft macaroni and cheese, and even though you probably should, it's probably not good for you. But there's no connection. Yeah. um, Robert Kraft is a real estate and paper. He owned a paper factory, so that's not the same people. The Minutemen. Yes, Bill did throw Tom under the bus in a way, and that's what I was just talking about. So I apologize, guys. I wasn't even looking at your comments. Normally I do that, but I had a lot of things I wanted to say. See it twice. Says next you'll tell us that Tom Brady isn't the grandson of the Brady bunch. Yes, well actually he is. He actually is. So see that. But no, it's a common misconception. A lot of people do believe that Robert Kraft is associated with Kraft Foods, which is understandable. I mean, he's a billionaire. The name Kraft, you think of it immediately, but there's no connection there. But yeah, I get it. I understand why people think that. I did the same thing. I did the same thing in the '90s when he was the owner, became the owner. I was like, is that the Kraft guy? And for years I thought it was. It wasn't for a long time, maybe probably around '01 or '02 that I found out that he wasn't the Kraft Foods guy. So I understand that it's a common misconception. Omar Alvarado. Hi. I'm getting better at that. Sends a $5 super chat. He says, Aaron, this may be my favorite live of Von Allen Sports. Oh, thanks, man. He says, you, not the crappy media, exposing Deflategate is what I've been waiting for. And thank you so much, Omar. I really appreciate that, man. And yeah, I know that tonight's show is not a normal show as far as, we're always just talking about like the next football game and all this other stuff. But a lot has happened in this time in between between the 2 weeks for the Super Bowl. So many things have come up. It's crazy. Isn't it interesting how the news about this Deflategate thing came out right at the same time after Tom retires? All of a sudden, it's announced after Tom retires, and it's a part of some book, apparently. Like, why didn't we know about this before? It comes out right now. It's in the news cycle that the NFL did this at the same time that they're being sued by Brian Flores. It's really strange, like, how all these things always happen this way, and makes you wonder, right? Yeah, Luke, I think when Deflategate came up, I think, yeah, Belichick and Brady were like, wait, are you serious? Are they, is this a joke? Tom, if you remember, guys, Tom's first reaction was, I think it was brought up to him on a phone interview with the local sports station there, WEEI, I believe. And it was brought up to him, and he started laughing. He goes, what? Like, and he said, I think I've heard everything at this point. Like, he didn't even take it seriously. And if he had been doing that on purpose, then I just think his reaction would have been a little different. But he just thought it was stupid. People, now I'm not going to try to relitigate the whole Deflategate lawsuit right now on a live show, but I do want to point out some things. People used to say that, oh, well, this guy, one of the airball guys referred to himself as the deflator. There's a good reason for that. That was his job. His job was to deflate the footballs. Do you know why? The balls come in at a certain pressure. Tom liked them at the lower end of the spectrum. So the lowest you could have them within the legal limit. That means that if you put them at the lowest legal limit, once they are applied to the game, they're going to fall under just a little bit more so than, let's say, Aaron Rodgers, who likes his overinflated. It's just about comfort for the quarterback, and every quarterback gets it a certain way. So that guy's job was to take some of the air out when they come in as new. If you've ever had a brand new NFL football, they fill those things up. They're just like boom, it's at the max. So that was his job to do that. That's nothing weird at all. And you're allowed to put them at the level the quarterback wants. That's completely legal. What the NFL was trying to say is that after they done that and then gave them to the refs, someone tampered with them even more. And that's just absolutely stupid. And there's no evidence to prove that. And the ideal gas law also shows that it was well within reason. So that's why that is. The second thing, they said, well, if Tom was innocent, why didn't he hand his phone over? There's a very good reason for that. And I said this and to a lot of people. I had a blog back in those days, but I said, would you give your phone to the NFL? And I said, if they get his phone, everything on his phone, all personal things will be exposed. Everything. They will leak everything just to ruin his character. A lot of people hit back. No, that's bullcrap. He's guilty. He would just give it over. Why would they do that? There's laws in place that they can't just release that stuff. I said, bullshit. Bullshit. They will completely destroy him with this stuff if you let him have that personal information. So I was like, please, God, Tom, do not give over your phone. Do not give the NFL your phone. Anything that they need for evidence was already acquired through text message. They had the training staff and the equipment guys, they had the text messages between them and Tom. So they had everything they needed already. What was the point in having Tom Brady's personal emails with family and friends and photos and things that he's done? Why would you need that? The only reason the NFL wanted that is because they wanted to find something that they could use against him. And guess what happened? As sure as shit, his emails were leaked. And there was an email of him talking about Peyton Manning and saying that he was telling a friend that Peyton Manning only has 2 years left. I've got 8 years left. Game on. It's not even that big of a deal. All right? But that's a personal email where he's talking about Peyton. And they released that shit. They released it. And Tom had to call up Peyton and explain and all this other stuff. All right? That right there proves why you should never give your phone to the NFL, Tom. That's exactly why. And that's the reason why he didn't do it. Now, imagine if he had. So they leaked his emails. We saw all of his emails. We saw emails about stupid crap they tried to use that. They tried to use an email where Tom was talking about buying a swimming pool cover, and Tom had some kind of issue with the manufacturer about the color or something wasn't correct, and so Tom was complaining about that. Something that all of us do. I mean, just tonight we're sitting there complaining about a ventilation in our kitchen, and we're going to get that fixed. Do we look like assholes? I mean, if someone took maybe an email we sent to the owners of the complex, are we going to look like dickheads? And that's what, I mean, they tried to use that to make him look like a bad person because you throw enough crap against the wall and people just get that vibe that Tom is a bad guy. So they released the email to Peyton. They released the email to the pool cover people, and there's a bunch of other ones I'm not even thinking about at the moment. And each one individually is nothing. Much ado about nothing, right? But combined, it just sounds like a bunch of negative things against Tom over and over and over. And you sling this crap all over the place. And that is the vibe, and that is the feeling that people get about you. And that is exactly why they wanted his phone. So, no, if anybody brings up his phone thing, you tell them that is exactly the deal. And Tom made the right decision in not giving them his phone. This isn't a criminal case, all right? This isn't something like that. This is not anything that they need that for. They had more than enough information between him and his equipment guys. Thank you. See it twice since a $10 super chat. He says, what pissed me off about Florio's breaking Deflategate piece was that he said he'd always thought the Pats and Brady were screwed. He'd always thought the Pats and Brady were screwed, yet also said there was still something sketchy going on. Right. And that's called sitting on the fence. And I'll tell you guys, there's no such thing. All right? Those who sit on the fence are impaled by it. Okay? I mean, Switzerland sits on the fence. Did that stop Adolf Hitler from invading? Did he care? Did he go, oh, well, you're neutral, so it's okay. We're not going to bother you. Sure. All right? There's no such thing. Okay? And this guy, that's what this guy's trying to do. He's trying to play both sides of it. He's too afraid to go to one side or the other. And you either think it happened or you don't. There is no, I thought the Patriots got screwed over, but there's also some shady things going on. What the hell does that mean? Get a spine, dude. Get some freaking courage and just speak what you think. Just say what you believe. It's either they didn't or they did. There is no in between. What are you talking about? It's not, it's so stupid. I can't stand people like that. Thank you, Daniel, for sending that. So, y'all want to talk about the Miami Dolphins? A lot of you guys will remember in 2019, it was the beginning of, I'm not talking to you, Jalen. Shut the fuck up. You know what? Just fuck off, dude. Seriously. A lot of you guys remember 2019 when the whole time we were talking about the Miami Dolphins and how they were tanking the season. We were absolutely certain that they were. And a lot of you guys that were around at that time, okay, would remember that. And every week, every single week, we would bring this up. What's going on here? 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, 0-4. And it wasn't that they were just losing. They were losing. It was obvious. They were doing things that were just insane. Like, it didn't make any sense. And then I started a petition. And now my petition didn't get any traction or anything. That's not the point here. I'm just pointing out that I started a petition, though, that was in response to Pat McAfee going on ESPN. And Pat McAfee had said that the Colts, when he was on the Colts, they did tank the season. So I said, okay, so there's more evidence of tanking. There's more evidence right there than there was ever evidence for Deflategate. Okay? So just for fun, I started a petition. I think I got like 100 signatures or something. It didn't really get anywhere. But I do remember some people commenting on it saying it was stupid and all this stuff. Okay, fine, whatever. But I was doing it to make a point. I wasn't even like serious about thinking it was going to make a difference or whatever, all right? And the point is it was a reaction to what the Miami Dolphins were doing. So Pat McAfee believed that the Dolphins were tanking, and this was the subject on everybody's minds. Then the NFL investigated. And I remember having a show when we talked about this, and I was like, see, told you guys this was going to happen, and the NFL looked into it. After the NFL looked into it, all of a sudden they started winning. Interesting, isn't it? They learned how to play. Remember? It was like, wow. Okay. So they just switch it on. That was interesting, but there's no proof, right? And the NFL never mentioned their findings or the results of their findings. Of course they wouldn't. Now we hear that Brian Flores is saying that Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, was offering him $100,000 per game to lose. He's also saying that when Brian claims that he said no to him, and when he did, Stephen Ross didn't like that, and it created a problem between him and the two, and then their relationship has been troubled ever since due to that. I mean, am I surprised? No. But even if that happened, and there's proof of this, the NFL will do everything it can to cover it up, and they'll never admit to it because they can't. This is a Pandora's box, okay? If it's opened completely. But this is all due to the problem that I presented a while back, which was the draft is bullshit. Stop giving teams the top draft pick because they suck. You should not be rewarded for sucking. I don't care. Oh, but parity. You've got to let the teams, you got to keep it even in good teams and bad teams, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. Okay? What you do is you do a lottery, a draft lottery. So the first pick in the draft, sucking that bad does not guarantee you anything. It just doesn't. And I don't even, so the first 5 teams, let's say the first 5 teams, you do a lottery between them. And you don't give one team more balls than the other. You take let's say 5 worst teams and you see what happens. But it doesn't guarantee you anything. That should have been done a long time ago. I never understood this. I just never, it was just open for corruption. It was just open for this kind of crap. And the manipulation involved. The NFL they still don't even really give us a clear picture on how they give out compensatory draft picks. Now, we have an idea based on the history of it and based on how it's worked. We can see a pattern, what we think is a pattern, but there is no definite explanation for how they do these things. But to make it a way to get the number one pick just from losing. My God, that is so obvious. After what the Colts did, they had an entire the campaign that was pathetic. They didn't know how to play football without Peyton Manning. That is nonsense. And then as soon as they get Andrew Luck, they're back to playing good again. Oh, that was magic. All right, they just turned that back on, didn't they? So bull crap. Come on. And we all knew it. We all knew that they were sucking on purpose so they could get Andrew Luck. And that's exactly what these teams have been doing. And I respect the hell out of these certain teams who are in the running for the number one draft pick at the end of the season, and they win games. Dude, when they do that, I have a lot of respect for that, and I think that's awesome. But a lot of these teams didn't do that. So it's pretty obvious that was going on, and the Dolphins, they didn't even hide it that well. So did Ross offer Flores $100,000 per game to tank? I guess we'll find out if he's got evidence of that. Or did Ross imply that that's what he wanted? Either way, the Dolphins, the owner, wanted the team to tank. We know that. We're not stupid. We know that. It's clear. But of course, the NFL won't give us the results of the investigation because they don't ever do things like that. They don't. That would be being honest and transparent, and that's not something that they're capable of doing. But I'd be interested. I'm really interested to see how this plays out, and something's got to be done. Something's got to be done about the draft arrangement and how that's done, because you're not going to keep people from trying to do this. And imagine if they had a lottery system in place all these years. Imagine how different things would be and how different things would look. So I think that's probably the best way to fix things. So okay, just a second. Let me find it. Okay, there it is. Salami Pizza celebrates 9 months of membership. He says, thoughts of a playoff bracket for the number one pick? You mean like extra games or something? They would never go for that. That would be interesting, like, you guys know, if you guys have ever played fantasy football, if you don't make the regular playoffs, everybody gets pushed down to the consolation playoff bracket, and it's like where all the losers play. You remember that, Milena? Like if you didn't make the playoffs, you get pushed down to the losers bracket. Although you didn't find yourself there very often, I did. But while the real playoffs are happening, you're playing in the losers bracket. So when the wild card weekend starts, you have the losers, we call it the draft, the draft playoff. I think that would be awesome. I would watch that, seriously. I would love that. That would be great. And make them earn that. That would be awesome. There's no way they'd sign up for that, but it would never happen. But yes, that is a salami pizza. That's a great idea. I like it. I like it a lot. And I would sign up for that. So oh, I missed one? Okay, just a second. Oh, there it is. Vicar says Rant Cam VAS is the best VAS, by the way. Thanks. I'm having trouble finding it. Found it. Okay. Please remind me to write to ECAM and ask them to highlight the member chats. Okay. So since we're sponsored by them, at least they can make that change. Luke R. celebrates 13 months of membership. Thank you, Luke. Luke's been here since the beginning. He says, what are your thoughts on the Rooney Rule again? The Rooney Rule. Okay, so the thing about the Rooney Rule is that in itself is never clearly defined as what they want from it and what its purpose is. So it's never been defined in a way that everyone kind of understands it. They have certain text of what they say it is, but we see changes and contradictions happen all the time. So what is it exactly? So for those watching who may not be familiar with the Rooney Rule in essence was designed to make sure that minorities get an interview for the head coaching position. And I believe it covers offensive coordinator and defensive. I believe it covers all those positions, if I'm not mistaken. But I know for sure it covers the head coaches. And that is the idea behind it. The idea was not to say you've got to hire a minority as your coach, but you've got to interview them or give them interviews. And this was coming from the idea that NFL owners were biased for white guys who were interviewing, so they wouldn't give black coaches or black executives, if it includes that. I don't see why it wouldn't. Chances to interview for the job. And after this rule was implemented, of course, Rooney, being the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers, their next coach was Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin got hired by getting an interview through the Rooney Rule. So Mike Tomlin, at the time when he was interviewed, he was not that experienced. He had come from Minnesota, I believe, but he didn't have like a long track record. I didn't even know who he was when I found out that they hired him for the Steelers. I was like, who is this person? But apparently they wanted, in the running for the Steelers job after Bill Cowher was Ken Wisenhunt was one of them, and he was a Steelers coach there. And a lot of people thought it was going to go to Ken Wisenhunt, who ended up coaching the Cardinals. And I remember Russ Grimm was up for the job as well. And it was one of those guys, I think, that was really in the running for that. But Mike Tomlin did his Rooney Rule interview and blew them away. And that's the story goes that Mike Tomlin came in and just his attitude and the way he spoke and the way his vision for the team and what he wanted to do impressed Rooney and impressed the Steelers organization, and they went with that and decided, we're going to do this. I've heard people argue that they hired Mike Tomlin because they had to, because they're the ones that came up with the Rooney Rule. Okay, but you can't really argue with the results. So whatever their reasons for hiring Mike Tomlin, do I believe that Mike Tomlin interviewed well? Yeah. Have you ever seen Mike Tomlin talk? I mean, he's a great motivator. The way he comes across, the way he talks and stuff, I can see him tearing it up in an interview. There's certain personalities that are good interviewers. Okay, there's certain people who can go into an interview, a job interview, whatever it is, okay, and they can just win the room. They've got this personality, they've got this way of doing things, and they can just win the room, even if maybe they're not as qualified as the other guys, or maybe the company was looking for or thinking about this other guy, but this guy impressed them. Okay. I can absolutely see Mike Tomlin tearing it up in the interview process. And based on what we've seen over the years, he's never had a losing season, to my knowledge. So he's coached in 2 Super Bowls, won one of them. So you can hardly argue with their decision, as where Ken Wisenhunt went on to coach the Cardinals, and they did get to the Super Bowl once that they lost. Ironically, they lost to Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers. But after that, Ken Wisenhunt, didn't really come back from that after he lost Kurt Warner. And let's be honest, you have to have a franchise quarterback. But I was living in Arizona when Ken was the head coach there, and I did not like him at all. I thought he was very stupid. He kept trying to play Matt Leinart over and over and over again and pushing Kurt Warner to the side. And had he just went with Kurt earlier, the Cardinals would have been even more, way better off from the start. So that is the essence of the Rooney Rule and a lot of people assume that, or they use Mike Tomlin as the gauge for that. The problem with this is that it's never been clearly identified. So right now, I see in the Brian Flores lawsuit, I see a bunch of people talking about there's only 2 black coaches in the NFL right now. There's Mike Tomlin, and then now a recently hired Houston, Texas, they hired Lovie Smith. A lot of you guys might remember Lovie Smith. He was the coach for the Bears for a very long time, and he coached them to a Super Bowl in 2006, and they lost to Tony Dungy's Indianapolis Colts, who incidentally is also a black head coach. So those are the 2 coaches left right now, or 2 coaches in the NFL who are black. So what they don't mention is that the Rooney Rule is actually not about black coaches, it's about minority coaches. So that includes if you're Hispanic, or if you're of Indian heritage, or if you're Asian, Middle Eastern, whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is that is not white, I guess white European, I don't know whatever. So that's the Rooney Rule. And if you count that, well, of course, there's more than that. So some years it's the Rooney Rule is about black coaches. Some years it's about minority coaches in general. I can't keep up with what they're wanting or what they're trying to define as that. So I don't know. Does it work? I've always felt things like this were insulting. Okay. I would feel it's insulting. It's like Black History Month, for example. I think that's insulting. I think Black history is American history. And to put someone's history in a month is insulting. If all of a sudden I found out that my history or our history was put in a month, I'd be like, excuse me? No. Yeah, screw you. No. My history is our history, and it's American history. And you're gonna put my history in a box, and not only a box, but you put it in the shortest month of the year. It's like, fuck you, dude. Really? You couldn't have put it in January, where, Martin Luther King's birthday. You had to put it in the only month that's got that ends on the 28th day. Like, what? Are we serious here? So come on, dude. It's insulting, and that kind of shit. So you have to be very careful about doing things like this. And honestly, the Rooney Rule did not come from a good place. It came from a place where it's a bunch of white guys sitting in a room, and they hire some outside analysts who come in and tell them, okay, this is what you need to do to not be racist. You need to paint in the end zone, end racism. And it's over. It's done. You fixed it. You see what I mean? And that is, it came from a bad place there. And now any minority who gets interviewed is going to feel like they're a token interview. It's the same thing as these draft picks that, they're handing the idea to hand draft picks out if you have a minority head coach, right? Or a minority GM. Are you serious? Like, that is massively insulting. You're putting a bounty on them now. Like, hey, come hire the black guy for head coach, and we're gonna give you a bunch of draft picks. Oh yeah, that's classy. I mean, if I was that coach, I'd be like, I don't need your extra draft picks. Screw you. Just let me coach. That's insulting, dude. That's what I'm saying. They don't see it. They don't see it from that angle. They're always trying to play the great white hope, and that they're always trying to do. No, that's not what you do. I saw Brian Flores in his interview. You know who his lawyers are? Two white guys. His lawyers are two white dudes.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Maybe because they're good.
Honestly, the lawyer who was doing the speaking come across as a freaking idiot, and that's not going to go well for Brian. All right, and they're going to rip Brian's case apart, and they're going to tear it apart, and that's it. So that's what's going to happen. The NFL will get away with this. They will get away with Stephen Ross rigging or trying to rig the games and lose games for Miami. They're going to get away with it. Dan Snyder is going to get away with everything that he done for the DC the DC Lizard people. I'm sorry, I'm not calling them the Washington Commanders. That sounds like the Washington Commies, as far as I'm concerned. I guess that fits, though, you know. But I like the DC Lizard people. We'll stick with that. But Dan Snyder's going to get away with all that. It's not going to matter. These guys can do whatever they want, and nothing will change that. My biggest problem with Brian is, why did you not say something when this happened? We could have got them. We could have got the Dolphins. The moment this happened in 2019, and Brian said nothing. And he only said something now after he got fired. And you know what that looks like, right? And what do you think the NFL's defense is going to say? This is sour grapes. This is retaliation for you being fired. That's what it's going to look like. And they're going to ask the same question. Why did you not bring this up in 2019? And if someone wants to say, oh, well, he would have lost his job. Yeah, he also would have gotten all of his contract guaranteed in full too. Okay. And you should have brought this up. Now you want to say that it's about this or about that. Where was that before? You see what I mean? So I just really wish Brian would have said something, and we could have gotten those Dolphins, man. Tanking. There's two forms of cheating in the NFL that is the most egregious things you can do. The worst forms of cheating are losing on purpose to get draft picks, but even more so is circumventing the salary cap, cheating the salary cap. That and tanking are, I think, the two biggest offenses against the NFL that you can do in the NFL, and neither is taken as seriously as stupid things like air in a football. You know, and the Dolphins are going to get away with this. Nothing's going to happen to them, and if anything does, it's just going to be for optics. It's going to be they're going to take a 5th round pick or fine a billionaire $1 million. Oh, let me see. Fucking, here's a nickel. You know, this basically doesn't mean anything to him. Just for good optics, if they do anything. But they're not going to seriously do anything like they did to the Patriots. 1st round draft picks taken out for a half of a game for a camera placement. A 1st round pick for alleged air in a football. Are you kidding me? A 1st round pick? And all the money that they had, the coach and the was fined. I mean, it's nothing to the owner, but still, it's the principle of it, I guess, in this case, because it damaged the reputation of the team and all their Super Bowls that they won. No, nothing's going to happen to this dude. And Brian, I just wish Brian would have said something before. So, okay. Let's see. From Elf of Courage? Okay. Elf of Courage sends a $5 super chat. He says, say if a team trades the first round pick to another team, then they have the worst record. Would either team get the first overall pick in a lottery? Well, if there was a lottery, okay, so let's say that, okay, the Jaguars are going to be the first overall pick, correct? I believe. Again. Let's say that last year, the Jacksonville Jaguars traded their 2022 first round pick to the Patriots for whatever, okay? And so this upcoming draft, the Patriots now own the Jaguars' first overall pick. If there was a lottery and that pick was put in the lottery, the Patriots are now in that lottery, and the Jaguars are not. So that they would just switch. It would just be an exact switch that way. So it wouldn't change anything. But if there was a lottery, if we did the lottery like I was suggesting, like the worst 5 teams, for example, were all put in a lottery, then it wouldn't change anything other than the fact that the Patriots get that instead of the Jaguars. Does that answer your question? I think. Yeah, Omar, your super chat got music. It's really low. I got it. I'll turn it up a little bit. The sound effect volume was a little bit low. So. Israel sends a $2 super chat. He says, Washington's new name sounds like an XFL team. It does, man. I can't. Honestly, there's the music. There, I turned it up. Yeah. That's weird music. I still don't know why, how that happened or how that got there. So I didn't actually change that on purpose. But my God, Washington football team is better than this. Like, you had all these years to come up with something, and you didn't like try it out. When you're coming up with a team name, you've got to go over everything that somebody could make fun of, and how nobody thought, how could you make fun of Washington Commanders? How can you make fun of Commanders? There's so many ways you can make fun of Commanders. It's how did you not see that? And they're just going to be a joke. They're just going to be a joke. So. Elf, I just read yours. If I was Washington, I wouldn't have changed my name at all. You know, I would have told, FedEx threatened to pull their funding for the stadium. Okay, go ahead. You don't think there are a million other companies who are waiting to get their name on that field? Yeah, too bad. There is no way I would change the name of the Washington Redskins. There's no way. Not with the history of it, not with the legacy of it, and especially if you know why it's called that and where it came from and where the logo came from. And this is what I mean about people apologizing and trying to, you can never please the mob. You cannot. It's impossible. You can't. Okay? If you're going to apologize for something that you did wrong or that you feel you did wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you think you're wrong and you did something wrong, okay, fine. But don't apologize for stupid things or change things just because the mob, because there's always going to be somebody who misinterprets something, but even more so, you may be under fire at the moment, but it goes away and then people move on to the next thing. Okay, like right now they're trying to take Joe Rogan down. You know, they're trying like hell to destroy him. And who will be their next target in a month, right? So it's just everybody all the time, and it's out of control. And now they're eating their own. You know, their own are getting in trouble now. So it's just craziness, and the gun is pointed at everyone. It's just chaos, and you've got to put a stop to it. And the only way people can stop it is by saying, listen, we know what we're about. The Washington Redskins was never about being racist. It was about honoring that heritage, about honoring that culture. That's what it's for. Okay? Same thing with Kansas City Chiefs. That's what it is. And that's it. And they even polled, and over 90% of Native Americans said they didn't give a shit about it and actually thought it was cool that they thought of the Redskins, or the ones that actually even knew about it or even cared, was like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty neat. So if a team right now, if the Washington Commandos decided to call themselves the Washington Arkansan White Boys, I'd be like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Really? You want to name your team after us? Okay, let's do it. Okay? There you go. So you don't name your team to be a jerk. You don't name your team to, no, you name a team, it's honorable, okay? That's why you name a team that. And when you have a mascot of a football team, or any team for that matter, you think, I want a mascot that signifies excellence. And as a football team, you want a mascot that signifies strength and speed and power and all these, cool things, right? That's how you want to project yourself. And what would you think of? Well, there's a lot of cool names, right? You think of the New England Patriots, okay? You think of the Revolutionary War guys who fought England, who fought the biggest empire, and these guys who fought, lost tons of people, gave up everything to do that. What does that give you an idea? That invokes this great, awesome thing, and it's perfect, right? When you think of Redskins, you think of Indian culture, here in Indian culture, and you think of everything that comes with that. That's the point. Warrior spirit and all that stuff. That's what you think about. Yeah. You can't be more complimentary. So, and just to prove, here's another thing. If it was the problem they had was the name Redskins, then why wouldn't they just change the name to another Indian name? Okay? So there's other versions of that. Of course, the Chiefs are taken, or why couldn't you just change your name from Redskins to Indian and keep the cultures? So the Washington Indians, well, no, you can't do that because cancel culture came after the Cleveland Indians. It never ends. So you can't honor that culture at all. So what you're really doing, let's see, if I can put this together, what it sounds like to me is that you're trying to eliminate any culture that is not white. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, that's pretty racist.
That's pretty racist, yeah. So what it sounds like to me is that you're trying to eliminate anything regarding any human culture that isn't white, because you can only keep white things now, apparently.
Cowboys.
You can keep cowboys.
Going in again.
Yeah, you can keep cowboys, you can keep patriots, you can keep, even though black guys did fight in the Revolutionary War, there weren't that many, but still, people think of white guys when you think of patriots, right? So you can keep that. That's okay. We're not going to go after that, not yet anyway. They'll probably go after the word patriot though eventually. But you can't be the Chiefs. You can't do any of that. So that's bad, right? Well, yeah, think about it for a second. So it's bullshit. So eventually cancel culture gets their way. The only teams that are going to be okay, the only teams we're going to be left with is either teams that are a mascot after an inanimate object or an animal until the animal rights activists come for it, and white people. So anything named after white people.
I think after a while we're gonna start being just numbers.
Just numbers?
Yeah.
Or city
12,
names?
13, 15, 63.
Yeah, let's just make, every name is after the city. How about that? So,
Like robots.
yeah. The New England football team. Team number 24. Team number 25, the New York football team. And which one? Well, we don't know. It doesn't matter because we don't want to offend anybody. So one will be 25, one will be 26. So, and then numbers will become racist or something. So we'll have to,
Find a way.
they'll find a way. Yeah. So you can't, it's just nonsense, dude. It's just, yeah. The Washington Redskins was one of the most badass names for a team ever. Okay? The logo, the uniform, everything about the Washington Redskins was badass. It's freaking badass. Okay? We're talking about a team that won 3 Super Bowls, great legacy, and one of the most important teams in NFL history, and very relevant to our game and our league. And now they're called the Washington Commanders. Wow. Just one moment, and I'll read your super chat. Give me 30 seconds here. Okay, so Elf of Courage sends another $5 super chat. He says, so the Washington Commanders will still have the Redskins' history and 3 Super Bowl championships. That is truly tragic. Yes, it is. And it's pathetic because it's not even connected. It's not the same thing. It's like this. When the Houston Oilers left Houston, they went to Tennessee. You've got to keep the name. If you don't keep the name, you're a different team. Nobody cares that it's the same ownership. The name, the mascot is what matters. That is what everyone is, how you're identified. That's why it's so important to pick a good name. That's why it's so important to pick a good logo. And there's a lot of power in the name and the mascot. That's everything. Nobody cares, oh, it's the same ownership. Who gives a crap that the same family is the Tennessee Titans? You never should have done that. You never should have changed that. Make the Tennessee Oilers. They were called the Tennessee Oilers. They stayed in Memphis temporarily. That was the closest thing to that we had to a professional team ever back then. Now they got the Memphis Grizzlies, which of course came from Vancouver. But when the Oilers was temporarily in Memphis and they played at the Liberty Bowl, that was the closest thing we had. But then when they got to Nashville and got their new stadium built, they changed it to Titans. Why? What was the point in changing it? You know, you got rid of a great name and an awesome logo and awesome uniforms. They weren't the same team anymore. They were a new team. All that fan base and that loyalty and all those years and of being around and the legacy of that is gone. When people think of ex-Oilers players, they don't think about the Titans. Nobody connects that. The only thing the same is that they took some of the players that were on the Oilers with them, like Steve McNair, for example, and the ownership is the same family. And even he's dead now. Bud Adams is dead, so, but it's just the same family. Nobody cares about that. This is precisely why the Cleveland Browns, or the city of Cleveland, sued the Ravens for keeping the name and made it's like you need it. You're a new team now. You go do your own thing. And for the life of me, I can't understand why, if the Oilers wanted to change their name to the Titans, why didn't the Houston Texans and the NFL try to come to some agreement or some kind of, understanding that the Houston Texans should be the Oilers, and that would be the natural way of doing it. And I think that was a mistake. They should have found a way somehow to make that work. And I wish Houston had done what Cleveland was able to accomplish. That would have been cool. So I would love to see a Houston Oilers team right now. How badass would that be? But yeah, Elf of Courage, that's it is tragic. What are you going to do? I mean, how are you going to rewrite all that history? Are you supposed to clean out the Redskins Museum? Are they going to get rid of everything with the logo on it? What about the Lombardi trophies that say Washington Redskins? I mean, where does it end? Is it just the name change, or is it everything? Like, how does this work? It's ridiculous. Washington foreskins. Jesus. Yeah, that might work. That actually might work. Salami Pizza, I'm not actually sure what happened with the Oilers nickname. I don't know. That's interesting. I'll look into that. I don't know if anything happened to it. I don't know if here's what I assumed. I assumed that the Titans owned the rights to the Oilers name, and that was it. So I'm not actually even sure. But don't tell me that it wouldn't be awesome that the Houston Texans were the Oilers instead. That would be cool. So it's just too perfect. The Houston Texans, how unoriginal is that? Okay, that is so dumb. And Lamar Hunt tried that. He called them the Chiefs used to be called the Dallas Texans. And then when they moved to Kansas City, they changed the name to the Chiefs. Thank God. But what are you going to do? Call them the Kansas City Missourians? Yes, Titans. Yes, see it twice. The name Titans also contains the word tit, So it is sexist. That is true. That is very true. Kansas City Queens. You could do that. I mean, they already have the Kansas City Royals, so that should work. Yeah, Omar, Houston Texans is original as the Washington football team. It's just so stupid. But they're going to find something wrong with everything. Everything. There's always going to be something that you can pick apart. I'm telling you, they're going to come after the New England Patriots. All right? I'm telling you that's going to happen. They'll come for it. They'll try. We'll see what happens, but they'll try. Well, Steve McDougal, they will not touch the name Vikings. They won't touch the name Vikings because, well, it's white people. So this is the thing. It's all about white supremacy.
You can make this up.
You can't. You can't make this stuff up. These people are so stupid.
That is the opposite effect.
It's doing the opposite. All the people that they call white supremacist and racist are the ones trying to protect cultural heritage and cultural names. Isn't that the funniest shit you've ever seen? And the ones that are claiming diversity and all this crap are the ones trying to eliminate diversity. You're trying to eliminate culture. You're trying to take Aunt Jemima away from my syrup. Or is it, yeah. There was Aunt Jemima syrup. There was Aunt Jemima pancakes. And that is bullshit. When I was a kid, I thought Aunt Jemima invented it. I thought that was a real person. So this whole time, my whole life, I thought this black lady invented the food I was eating with her name on it. I thought she was some famous chef or some famous, whatever. I had no idea. I never thought anything else. Didn't think it was a brand or whatever. Well, they got rid of that shit. I thought Uncle Ben's Rice. Uncle Ben was a famous chef too. So I thought he was a famous black guy who started that kind of food or that kind of a flavoring of that. I thought that was his. So I think they took that away. So, it's cultural appropriation. We're going to keep doing that until we're all segregated. And guess where we're at? We're back to 1960s. We're 1950s and before that. That's where we're at. Pretty soon, you're going to be making all of us drink from different water fountains. Okay? It's just, you can't make this stuff up. It's ridiculous. Okay? That's what you're doing. You're eliminating cultures away, other cultures that aren't white. So those are the only things you can have. That's just funny, dude. I mean, it's hilarious actually. So yeah, I remember they made they stopped children from wearing the Black Panther uniform, the Marvel Comics Black Panther guy.
Really?
They said white kids couldn't wear that.
Why not?
Really?
It's an animal.
Really?
I have a Black Panther cat. Can I have
No,
it?
but they're saying they can't wear the Black Panther uniform because the guy who plays Black Panther in the Marvel comics, in the Marvel movies, is a black guy.
Oh.
It's about an African tribe. I've never seen the movie, but I'm kind of not very. I'm actually vaguely familiar with how the story of that. I don't watch the Marvel stuff. I've not even seen the Avengers yet, or all the Avengers movies. I can't keep up with. There's just too many. But yeah, they were saying that you could not wear, the white kids shouldn't wear the Black Panther costume because it's a black character. That is the most racist shit I've ever heard.
It's like saying a black kid cannot wear Superman.
Yeah, well, no. A black kid cannot wear a Superman outfit. And honestly, what would they have done when I was a kid when I was wearing Warren Moon's jersey to school? Or when I was wearing Larry Johnson's shoes. What about that? Was that black appropriation? I'm just curious. I'm just wondering. Yeah, so where does it end? I'm just trying to point out how stupid this shit is. And that's where everything is going now. And it's going to blow up in their face, okay? It's already happening, but it's eventually, it's starting to turn around. People are waking up to this. They are like, okay, I see what you're doing. This is nonsense. So, no. They want, that's the only thing they've got. That's their playbook. Everything's racist. That's all they have. That's because they have no real arguments. They have no real reasons for doing anything, so they just go to that. And they're going to come for all of our teams eventually. They're going to find something wrong with it. So it's only a matter of time. That's true, Contemporaries. That's he's got a point. Superman, because you said Superman. Yeah. Superman isn't white, technically. Yeah. He's Kryptonian.
But the actor is.
It's true, but it's technically true. It's technically true. So no one can wear Superman. It's no. I'm sorry, but isn't white kids wearing the Black Panther outfit like a huge victory against racism? Is that not like what you're wanting? What you're supposed to be wanting? That's exactly what you're supposed to want. So yeah, and I'm sorry, but I don't know any black people who are offended by that. You know who's offended by it? A bunch of extreme leftist white people. That's who's pissed off about it. They sit in a room thinking up this stupid shit, and they think that they can feel offended for everyone else. Like they're the authority on being offended. That's what they do. So they're people who get paid to do this shit. They get paid to be offended. Again, a bunch of white people in a room thinking up ways that black people are offended by something, or Indians are Native Americans are offended by something, okay? It's absurd. When in reality, these people, they don't know anything. They don't know anything about what they're doing, and the people that they claim are offended don't give a shit, okay? I seriously doubt, I can't be 100% sure, but I seriously doubt black people are sitting at home on Thanksgiving when all the family comes in and says, "Can you believe I saw a white kid wearing a Black Panther Halloween costume?" I just don't see it. If it happens, it's probably rare, but I think that they would have better things to worry about than that. So anyway. How did we even get to this? How did we even get on this? It's weird. See, Contemporary says, "I'm black, keep wearing Black Panther, kids." Exactly. That's the stupidest thing to not do that. That was the most popular superhero movie of the year when that came out. That was all the kids wanted to be that for Halloween, and they made all these kids feel like crap because of it. It's absolutely the exact opposite of what you're trying to accomplish, or what we should be trying to accomplish. They're trying to take us back to the 1960s. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And we can't let them do that shit. And I think people are waking up to that. I think they're realizing. So. Oath of Courage sends a $5 super chat that says, "Then they get rid of the Indian on the Land of Lakes brand butter and the raisin boxes." They did that too? I didn't even know. See, I didn't even know about that. That doesn't make sense. Okay, whatever. So, okay, let's make everything white. Okay, cool. I guess that's what they want. Fucking crazy people, man. All right. I know it's late for you guys, most of you guys on the East Coast, and I've ranted a lot tonight, quite a bit actually. Yes, from Alpha Courage, I sure did. Nightwalker. Yeah. Yes, Luke. Otherwise, we'll stay divided. That's what they're wanting. That because that's the only thing they got. That's the only thing. The only way they have to stay in power is to keep people pissed off and playing that over and over again. But like I said, people are waking up to this, man, fast, really fast. So everyone's tired of the bullshit. So we should be working as a country. Okay, there are real enemies out there for our country, and you know we're too busy trying to fight each other, and we're gonna stop letting them do that shit. Okay, we're gonna stop letting them do that. See it twice since the $5 super chat and says, I confess I went as a ghost for Halloween as a kid and wore white face for effect. Yes, I'm already white, but not that white. I'll try and be better. Okay, Daniel, you should do better. And I accept your apology. And yeah, well, we'll make sure the ghosts aren't offended. So, but isn't that racist too, thinking that all ghosts are white? Do black people not come back from the dead? Just curious. Or is that, do we have the monopoly on that too? I was just wondering. Okay, so. Yeah, we do. We have monopoly over ghosts, apparently. So that's interesting. I see you learn something new every day. We need that little "the more you know" logo go across the screen. So, God dang, it's ridiculous. All right, guys, thank you so much. We will have a show this Friday night. It's a Super Bowl preview. Our normal VAS live, but it's on Friday because Saturday night we have the MMA. It's a UFC event, and we'll have the UFC show Saturday night. So don't forget, this Friday is a regular VAS live for the Super Bowl. Thank you guys so much for hanging with me on a weeknight, and I know it's late for you guys. Nearly 1 o'clock in the morning if you're on the East Coast on a weeknight. So I think that's awesome, and I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for hearing me out. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't agree with me, maybe you agree with a few things I said or you don't, but don't get mad, don't get pissy. And I'm always happy to talk about things. That's how this country should be. We should be able to talk about things, figure out why I feel the way I do about certain things. You tell me how you feel. That's how it should be, not just getting pissed off and running away or saying, oh, I don't agree with that, son. You know. That's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be talking to each other. So thank you for listening. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Have a good night, guys.
Flag on the play if you're not subscribed to Von Allen Sports. But once you are, we'll make it up to your team in the fourth quarter. You're watching Von Allen Sports, real and honest NFL analysis. Subscribe now and join the empire. Von Allen Sports, let's go.
Von Allen Sports.